私が強くしてあげる。もっと強く。
こうですか。
もっとよ。
はい。
いい感じよ。
これでもか。
Hey yo, what's up, and welcome to my corner of the internet. A couple weeks ago, I recommended to you guys Black Lagoon, and now I'm talking about another one of my top 5 favorites, Gintama. I'm super excited to really showcase this amazing story to you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and want to see it yourselves. Gintama is written by Hideaki Sorachi. So, when you think about Gintama, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not talked about very often. It's one of those few animes where not a lot of people know about it, not a lot of people even discuss it. It's barely even a meme. And I guess I could say that's weird, but it's a very niche anime. Gintama is different and weird and simple in a cool way. If you're a weeb and an otaku or an anime lover and you know Gintama, you definitely are like an anime nerd. Like, there's no doubt about it, because when I mention Gintama to people, most people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, which totally doesn't bother me. Gintama is a very niche anime. Even though it was super popular, it lasted a very long time, but it was also in the shadow of the big three: Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece. So I wouldn't be surprised when most people say it went underneath their radar or they've never heard of it, which is fine, but it was a very popular anime and continues to be. It's very well loved, and also it was somewhat announced for this year in 2021 that it's getting a final movie to end all of everything. So that's why it kind of inspired me to go rewatch some things and go re-experience the magic that is Gintama. Gintama follows these 3 characters: Gintoki, our main lead, a freelancer and ex-samurai, and Kagura, an Amato, and Shinpachi, a normal guy that works as an apprentice to Gintoki. One of the cool things about Gintama is it's set in historical Edo, but there's this twist. The twist is aliens have come and basically took over the world and shifted everything. We're looking at this weird, diverse world that seems somewhat similar to our own, but it's futuristic with its own historical tones and a lot of historical references during that time in Edo. And it makes for a very different and intriguing world that we're experiencing. Now, time to get to the crux of Gintama. Gintama is a very different story. It's not a shonen, it's not a seinen, it's not even all those other things. It's a comedy. And it's filled with gags, it's filled with historical references, it's filled with crazy fights. Gintama encapsulates so many different genres and ideas, but it flows in such a simplistic way where you appreciate the story and you appreciate the detours and all the stupidity that the story has to offer. Gintama is mainly about its comedy. It's about each character having its own comedic style. It feels like you're watching a comedian go up each episode and perform in front of us and have its own interactions with other characters in their own comedic styles. And I think that's what makes Gintama really intriguing as an anime, is seeing how characters interact and they all have their own distinct style, and it almost becomes indicative of their personalities. Gintama is one of the first animes that really made me laugh. It really made me enjoy the jokes, enjoy the humor, enjoyed some of the more stupider toilet humor. There's a lot of sex jokes, toilet humor, references, and it's filled with so many different ideas of comedy, slapstick, more physical comedy, and violence. Gintama at its core is actually very simple. Believe it or not, the very simple premise of the show is our main character just wants to enjoy the simplicity of life, being a degenerate, a freelancer, someone who has the joys of appreciating the people around him and living a quiet, calm life. That's literally all this show is about. him and his experiences and dealing with his past and some of the historical issues that come with being enslaved or being altered by the aliens, the Amanto. This show has so many layers and differences that it's so interesting and goes beyond just the simple comedy that it carries with itself throughout the entire show. One thing about Gintama that I thoroughly believe, I think it has some of the best brutality and violence ever. I think Gintama has some of the best fights anime has to offer, and it competes with some of the best fights of Naruto, even One Piece, and so many others. I think Gintama has some violence that is like otherworldly, and some moments like Gintama's fights always felt like a climax to this great anticipation, these great meetings, and it always felt impactful. It had its weight. It always carried that explosion of energy. One of the best parts about Gintama is it's very sarcastic. It makes fun of all sorts of other animes. It makes fun of so many other things. One thing about Gintama that I guess could be off-putting is it makes a lot of historical references. It makes a lot of references to Japan and a lot of its inside jokes. And some of it you won't get at all. And some things you can use context clues and find the humor in. And it also has that different like anime comedy, but I think most of it is funny to the like normal person regardless of where you are or who you are. But I could see that as a barrier to entry for so many other different people because we're not in Japan, so obviously we won't get all the references and even some of the historical references, even the characters that have the same names as other historical people, and it plays into their character. Gintama is deceptively deep as an anime. It has so many different ideas pushed into it, and it flows within the story, and it's genius how the story melds and flows in the arcs, and how one episode brings us to a new idea, a new showcasing of the setting and the interactions between the world. It's all very interesting. Like the setting is a character of its own, and the interactions and the jokes play into how stupid and fun and otherworldly this world is. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you some of the issues with Gintama. Gintama does have a couple filler episodes in each arc. Some things are expounded upon too long for no reason, and at times it feels like it needs such this unnecessary amount of build-up for moments. And also some of the episodes are filled with jokes that won't always land. About the ratio is about 2 to 4. 2 jokes you'll be like 4 you'll be like, oh, that was actually funny, and you'll easily get a joke that makes you laugh or makes you cry, or an interaction or a reaction that's like, oh my god, that's hilarious. Gintama is filled with misses and hits, truth be told. But you have to keep in mind, this is an anime you are supposed to casually watch, enjoy, and take the slight gems that it has to offer. Also, Gintama fails sometimes at its shonen aspect. The story doesn't feel like it always has a sense of urgency when it's time to be urgent, and sometimes the anime doesn't feel like it has a set idea for what it wants to be. Even though it encompasses so many different ideas, it feels like it gets pigeonholed trying to complete so many different aspects of the traits that it holds within its story. It's a subtle issue, but most of the time, if you're not watching it with such a critical eye, you can enjoy some of the simplicities and some of the idyllic ideas that come through in this story. Gintama is very different than most shonen and other shows, and I think that's what added to its popularity. It was so different. It was not just one thing. It was not pigeonholed to one singular idea, and it had the freedom that some other animes didn't. It didn't have the issues of Bleach, it didn't have the issues of Naruto, and it didn't have the issues of One Piece. So it could be its own genre and its own story, and I think that's what made Gintama so cool.
男は女の首を足でくり打ちし、女は地面に叩きつけられたのであった。ラッキーなことに 男は死
Gintama was definitely different and took its inspirations from so many different places that helped build incredible new stories, and that's what makes Gintama so interesting. How it takes so many different ideas and it also breeds a new story with it.
おいこらいつまで寝てんだよ
ちょっと全然普通の女の子じゃないよあれねえ何あれ立ち飲み屋のおっさんだよね
You'll fall in love with the characters, you'll fall in love with the moments, and you'll also fall in love with the simplicity of the story and the moments where it was heartfelt and dramatic and also challenged your ideas and some of the brutality and a lot of the moments that were like shonen-esque in some of the scene and moments and a lot of the craziness of the world of Gintama. Gintama has created a very interesting world, and I recommend that you experience it, enjoy it, and just relax in it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed my recommendation. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please check out some of my other videos. Check out my socials. Find out what I'm doing, posting, working on, or whatever else. And be easy. Have a great day. And please, please check out Gintama.